Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam Prabhuji, my humble obeisance Prabhuji.
Jai Muralidhar Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot
Krishna
Pranam.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, our humble obeisance Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Asa Krida Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Gurudev, Sri Chaitanya
Hare
Devadas,
Krishna.
obeisances, Hare Krishna.
Dandot Pranam.
Guys, so wonderful to have you all back again with us. Sarvagya Mohan Prabhu, I can see you smiling. Good to see you. So it's 33 minutes past 7 in the evening in Oman. So we welcome you all again for this third session on the Nectar of Instructions by His Holiness Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj, who's joining us from the Bhaktivedanta Manor, ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Manor. And so without much ado, let's begin. Over to Maharaj with our third session, Nectar of Instructions. Hare Krishna.
Om Jnana Trimanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshusmritam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Panchakalpa Trubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyasya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So we are now entering the third part of Nectar Instruction, covering texts 5 and 6. So as you know that we are, this is an overview of the whole Nectar Instruction. Up to verse 1 to 7, it is about Vaidya Bhakti. Then next session when we go into the text 8, we'll talk about Raganuga. But presently we are still in Vaidya Bhakti. So now in this section of Nectar Instruction, we are more going to concentrate on Bhajana Kriya, Anatha Nivriti, and Nishtha and Ruchi, where we are developing a little bit further in our spiritual journey. As I mentioned earlier on, that Nectar Instruction is basically leading us from Shraddha, faith, initial faith, to the highest level of Krishna consciousness is Prema. So in the Nectar Instruction text 5, it is discussing about the 3 types of devotees. Krishneti yasya giritam manasa driyate dikshasti chat pranati bhescha bhajantam isam susrusya bhajana vijnam ananyam anya nindadi sunya hridam ipsita sangalabdhya. So the translation of this verse is, one should mentally honor the devotees who chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, Diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. One should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So the whole essence is how to deal with devotees, how we are going to reciprocate with different devotees of different levels. And above all, in the last line, it says devotional service, who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of propensity to criticize others. So this is a quick definition of Diksha. Process by which one can awaken the transcendental knowledge and vanquish all reactions caused by sinful activities. As we all heard many times this statement, that when we take shelter of a pure devotee, a spiritual master, during the initiation process, when we attend the initiation and then the fire sacrifice, all our sinful activities are burnt away in the fire or in the yagya of the initiation ceremony. And then we are given a clean slate to make progress in spiritual life slowly by following rules, regulations under the guidance of a pure devotee. So Diksha process advancement. So first is D for Diksha is disinterested. One becomes disinterested in material enjoyment. I, interest. One becomes interested in spiritual life. A, keep in control. One is willing to live a self-controlled life. Tapasya. Sikh. S. One desires to receive spiritual enlightenment. A, accept. One becomes initiated by the Guru. So this is a quick overview of understanding what Diksha means. So one should accept a Guru if one is a Jignashu, interested in transcendental subject matter. And who should not accept a Guru? One should not accept a Guru if one is not interested in inquiring about, if one is only interested in inquiring about mundane subject matters to make a fashionable show of a spiritual life, if unwilling to follow his instructions. Of course, when we take shelter of the spiritual master, then we should completely be following his instructions because he is our guide and we have accepted him as our guide. So in our process of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada introduced this system of Diksha where a candidate would be willing to inquire further about the science of Krishna consciousness, and then the spiritual master accepts him in the parampara and gives him the holy or Harinam Diksha, and that is the beginning of one's journey on a spiritual path. In order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocations mentioned in the previous verse, one must select proper person with careful discrimination. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore advised that we should meet with the Vaishnavas in an appropriate way, according to their particular status. In this verse, he tells us how to deal with three types of devotees: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. One should respect such a person within his mind as a Kanishta Vaishnava. So of course, here is very clearly mentioned by Prabhupada in the purport that when one receives initiation doesn't mean that he is graduated, but he is trying to chant the name of Krishna according to the rules and regulations and principles of devotion. A Madhyam Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Madhyam Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. So as you become more and more familiar with the process of Krishna consciousness and you make little more advancement, then you raise yourself from Kanishta to Madhyam Adhikari. And he's very clearly saying here that the Madhyam Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. So he has made his journey halfway coming to the Uttamadhikari platform. The Uttamadhikari, or the highest devotee, is one who is very advanced in devotional service. And Uttamadhikari is not interested in blaspheming others. His heart is completely clean and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, the association and service of such a Mahabhagavat or a perfect Vaishnava are most desirable. One should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated in the lowest platform of devotional service and is interested only in worshipping the deity in the temple. Such a devotee is described in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, text 47. Acharyam eva hare areya pujam ye sadhaya hate natad bhakta su chanesu sabhakta praktya sramita. a person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave towards a devotee or people in general is called a Pratya Bhakta or a Kanishta Adhikari. One therefore has to raise himself from the position of Kanishta Adhikari to the platform of Madhyam Adhikari. The Madhyam Adhikari is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 2, text 46, in this way. The Madhyam Adhikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love, makes friends with the devotees, makes friends with the Lord's devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids those who are envious by nature. So very clearly, Prabhupada citing here from the Bhagavatam that what is the position of a Madhyam Adhikari, that he should be considering his worship as the highest object of love for Krishna. He should make friends with the devotees of Krishna. At the same time, he should be showing mercy to those who are ignorant and avoid those who are very envious by nature. In this Krishna consciousness movement, a chance is given to everyone without discrimination of caste, creed, or color. Everyone is invited to join this movement, sit with us, take prasad, and hear about Krishna. When we see that someone is actually interested in Krishna consciousness and wants to be initiated, we accept him as a disciple for the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Of course, Prabhupada is saying very clearly that this society of Krishna consciousness is established without any discrimination for who you are, what is your caste, color, creed, or your status in society. And more so, you are interested in Krishna consciousness, and therefore we invite you to come and associate with the devotees and take saram and discuss further how to make advancement in spiritual life. So this is initial faith is there. When the initial faith is invoked in the heart, then there is something which we call a leap of faith from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. It's a vast change from your previous status of your consciousness and coming to spiritual consciousness, which is of a higher level. And that means, as Krishna describes, you transcend from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. When a neophyte devotee is actually initiated, engaged in devotional service by the order of the spiritual master, he should accept immediately. He should be accepted immediately as a bona fide Vaishnava, and obeisances should be offered unto him. This is a very important point Prabhupada is making. When a person is initiated by the spiritual master, then he should be accepted immediately as a bona fide Vaishnava. However, he may not be advanced, still, Prabhupada is stating a very important statement here that we should accept him as a bona fide Vaishnava and offer our respects unto him. Out of many such Vaishnavas, one may be found to be very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulatory principles, chanting the prescribed number of rounds on his japa beads, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Such a Vaishnava should be accepted as the Uttama Adhikari, a highly advanced devotee, and his association should always be sought. The process by which a devotee becomes attached to Krishna is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila, chapter 4, text 192. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpana, se kale Krishna tara kara atma sama. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. It's a very important point Prabhupada is citing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that when a devotee is initiated by the spiritual master in a bona fide parampara, Krishna himself accepts that devotee to be as good as himself. In other words, he's a direct representative of Krishna. So when you take Diksha from a spiritual master in a bona fide sampradaya, then you are given a very high pedestal that you are now the direct representative or an ambassador of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to go forth and preach the message of Krishna. So here, as I said, there's no discrimination. So Prabhupada is accepting this Vaishnava here in the Vaishnava Parampara and accepting him as a disciple. Then this slide he is accepting a woman as a disciple. So there is no discrimination whether you're man or woman, white, black, blue, or green. It's irrelevant. What's important point is that one should show sincere desire for Krishna consciousness. Then the spiritual master will accept and guide you in your spiritual journey. Diksha or spiritual initiation is explained in the Bhakti Sundarbha 868 by Srila Jiva Goswami. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dayat Kuryat Praptasya Sankhasayam Tasma Dikshati Sa Prokta Dikshati Tattva Ko Vidhai. By Diksha, one gradually becomes disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. So Jiva Goswami is mentioning here in his Bhakti Sundarbha that as soon as you show interest, as I mentioned earlier slide, there's a leap of faith from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. So you gradually become disinterested in materialistic life and become more and more interested in spiritual life. For the advancement of spiritual life, Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 1, text 13, prescribes Tapasya brahmacharyena samena cha damena cha. When a person is serious about accepting diksha, he must be prepared to practice austerities, celibacy, and control of the mind and the body. If one is so prepared and is desirous of receiving spiritual enlightenment, divyam dhyanam, he is fit for being initiated. So again, Prabhupada citing from Bhagavatam, who is that candidate who is fit to be accepted as a disciple and be initiated? One should not accept a spiritual master without following his instructions. Nor should one accept a spiritual master just to make a fashionable show of spiritual life. One must be jignashu, very much inquisitive to learn from a bona fide spiritual master. The inquiries one makes should strictly pertain to the transcendental science, jignashu sreya uttama, that which is above material knowledge. So again here, very important instruction is there that one who is interested, jignashu, who is interested in spiritual life, then he is actually a candidate for going further in his spiritual advancement. When one is actually initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and when he seriously engages in the service of the Lord, he should be accepted as madhyam adhikari. So again, we can understand the differentiation between kanishta adhikari and madhyam. Here it is very clearly stated that when one is initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and is seriously engaged in the service of the Lord, then he should be accepted as madhyam adhikari. The chanting of the holy names of Krishna is so sublime that if one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra offenselessly, carefully avoiding the 10 offenses, he can certainly be gradually elevated to the point of understanding that there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. Of course, Prabhupada has cited this many times from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar, that in this Kali Yuga, Krishna has advented in his name form. Kali Kale Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa in the Kali Yuga is come to propagate this mercy of the Lord, to associate with him in his name form. So when we are gradually chanting the holy name, we'll come to a point where we will begin to understand there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. So this is the mantra given to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we should chant this mantra of 16 syllables without committing any offenses, namely the 10 offenses which are mentioned in the Padma Purana and also re-emphasized in Nectar of Devotion. One should know for certain that without chanting the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, one cannot be a proper candidate for advancement in Krishna consciousness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22, text 69, it is said, Yahara Kamala Sradha se Kanishta Jana, Krama Krama Teno Bhakta Hoy, Hoibe Uttama. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte. But by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of first-class devotee. So again, as I mentioned before, Shraddha, faith is very important, as Rupa Goswami also says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ado Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha, that before we begin to associate with the devotees and go further, Ado Shraddha must be there. So Shraddha, faith in Krishna, is the beginning of the Krishna consciousness. Everyone begins his devotional life from the neophyte stage, but if one properly finishes chanting the prescribed number of rounds of Harinam, he is elevated step by step to the highest platform, Uttama Adhikari. This Krishna consciousness movement prescribes 16 rounds daily. Of course, Prabhupada had established this fundamental principle that anybody who's serious in executing Krishna consciousness and elevating themselves to the highest platform and transcending from the material platform to the spiritual platform, then they must seriously chant at least minimum 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra on the 108 beads of Japa Mala. And this is a must. Without this, you cannot hope to make any advancement. So there are 3 types of devotees and their behaviors. Number 1 is Kanishta. 5 types of behavior we see in a Kanishta devotee. 1, he worships only the deity in the temple. 2, he behaves badly with devotees and people in general because he hasn't actually understood that the devotees of the Lord are accepted as good as Krishna, as we said earlier on from Chaitanya Charitamrita, or also in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that those who chant my holy name and I accept them as good as me. Discrimination, they don't have that ability, cannot distinguish between devotees and non-devotees, and devotee and the Lord. And Harinam initiated, those who are the Kanishtas who are Harinam initiated, they are trying to chant. Of course, in the beginning, there is many offenses are committed because there is no lack of knowledge, or we carry a lot of baggage from our previous existence. So slowly, we try to purify the heart by chanting, and then we become pure. And pliable faith, unsteady. That faith is little unsteady. Very easily, some disturbance comes in your Krishna conscious practice, and very easily you can become deviated. And sometimes people even give up the very practice of Krishna consciousness. Out of the 3 types of devotee, the second one is Madhyam. And Madhyam Adhikari is described as 4 kinds of behavior. 1, Prema, worship the Supreme Lord with love. 2, Maitri, makes friendship with the devotees of the Lord. Kripa, shows mercy, is merciful to the innocent. Upaksha, avoids the envious. So this is now an overview of all the 3 devotees. The 3 types of devotees again. The third one is Uttamadhikari. Uttamadhikari has got 10 types of behavior. 1, uncritical, doesn't blaspheme anyone. A pure devotee criticizes only without false ego envy. So when he criticizes, it is called constructive criticism to improve someone's devotion and understanding. And he does this completely without any false ego or envy. B, there is, he does this with great pain and regret, although he doesn't like, but it is his duty to correct someone. And therefore, with great pain and regret, he corrects that person. C, he hates the disease, but not the diseased. So again, this is very important, that we do not begin to see the bad qualities of a person, but the root cause of the bad qualities. D, to protect the devotees of the Lord, and of course protect the Lord also. E, to protect newcomers' faith. So this is the Uttamadhikari, that he is very, very mindful, very conscious that he would protect the newcomers' faith, so they do not become unsteady or become disturbed and then give up the practice of Krishna consciousness. 2, is pure, is free from anarthas. 3, self-realized, attains the realized state of Krishna consciousness. 4, he is very serious, engaged in the service of the Lord. 5, strict in following the 4 principles and chanting 16 rounds daily without fail. 6, expands, always thinking how to expand Krishna consciousness. 7, is disinterested in material life or enjoyment. 8, guru. Uttamadhikari is the best guru, should be accepted as a spiritual master. 9, converts many people to Krishna consciousness. In other words, his endeavor of preaching Krishna consciousness is to free from the darkness of ignorance, bring them to knowledge, and then bring them to Krishna consciousness. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, power of a Vaishnava is recognized according to how many Vaishnavas he makes. So the more devotees you make, the power empowered you are. And more you become empowered, the more and more you convince people to become Krishna conscious. And 10, offenseless, is free from all vices. So these are the qualities of an Uttamadhikari. Now, when we find a pure Uttamadhikari, Sri Guru, the interaction with Uttamadhikari is in threefold. One is that we associate with them. And how is that association? It's very important. By submissively inquiring and then by serving them. So when we associate with the pure devotee through inquiry and serving, then that is the best way to make progress in the spiritual journey. So types of devotees and faith and knowledge. So Kanishta Adhikari, his faith is very weak, his knowledge is also very weak. Mind you, this is because he is just beginning his spiritual journey, he's just awakening to spirituality. And Madhyama Adhikari, his faith is very strong, but his ability to convince others is somewhat lacking. And his knowledge is good, but cannot always defeat the opposition. Means that he cannot really put up a good argument to defeat the atheistic class of persons. Now, Uttamadhikari, his faith is very strong and he can convince everyone. So his knowledge is very strong based on Shastra, Guru and Sadhu, always defeating opposing opinions. So he cannot be defeated on any level because he is so strong in his conviction, his faith and knowledge. So we're now going into the text 6, the Nectar of Instruction, text 6, exalted position of a pure devotee. So we have just seen in the previous verse, text 5, the 3 levels of devotee, the Kanishta, the Madhyam, and the Uttama. And now in the 6th verse, Rupa Goswami is showing us the qualities of an position of an exalted devotee. Drishta swabhava janitar vapsu cha doshe na praktavatam iha bhakta janasya prasyat gangam basam na kulo budhu buddha faina pankyer brahma dharvatam apagachati nirdharmaye. Being situated in his original Krishna consciousness, a Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook devotees having a body born in a low family, a body with bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. But despite such seemingly defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges water do not become polluted. Those who advance in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So, of course, here Rupa Goswami is describing how the Ganges water sometimes seems to be polluted or looks polluted, but it doesn't become diminish in its potency and power. And therefore, an advanced person would not consider the condition of the water, but rather see the Ganges as pure and take his bath in it. And similarly, a devotee should not be looked upon with all these defects and impurities in his bodily constitution, but his heart and his mind is pure. Sudha Bhakti, the activity of soul proper. In other words, engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is performed in the liberated condition. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text 26, it is stated, Mam cha vibhyacharena bhakti yogena sevate saguna samtityadaya ten brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. In this Krishna consciousness movement, one's consciousness must be changed. If consciousness is aimed towards material enjoyment, it is material consciousness. And if it is aimed towards serving Krishna, it is Krishna conscious. So generally we see, in our materialistic attachment to the material world, we have propensity to amass a lot of wealth, hoping that this wealth will bring you happiness and also buy you items which will bring you kind of happiness. You want to be the top in the materialistic realm. And of course, you want to enjoy unlimited sense gratification. And all these are not considered very conducive for spiritual practices. This chart is showing very clearly material happiness is based on our understanding dissatisfaction with non-material life domain or dissatisfaction with present standard of living. Hoping in the future the present life satisfaction and future life satisfaction will improve by getting material happiness. Also, we think material success will give us economic motivation by getting wealth and finances, and this anticipated future satisfaction of the standard of living, and then future life will be satisfied, or satisfaction of future life will be there. So this is anticipation we have that material happiness and material success will gradually bring you to a satisfactory lifestyle. But if we analyze all around us, people from all backgrounds, all walks of backgrounds, they have material happiness, they have material success, but they don't have satisfaction. They're always eager to get something more, which they think they will find better satisfaction somewhere else. So material consciousness is Maya consciousness. Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, activities of the soul proper, engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, performed in the liberated condition. So when the soul is purely based on pure Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, then he is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And this, of course, Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, is performed by the person who is liberated. The one who is a liberated soul, serving the Lord in the spirit of devotion. One, he is chanting the holy name with sincerity and with dedication. He is offering prayers to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. He is worshipping the lotus feet of Shri Krishna and offering food to Krishna. Of course, there is no necessity to offer food to Krishna, but in this material world, we need to sustain our body and mind together, and therefore we need the nourishment, and therefore it is recommended that that which is offered to Krishna in yajna is purified, and when we partake this food stuff offered to Krishna as prasadam, then of course we also become purified by that prasadam. So spiritual consciousness is considered Krishna consciousness. Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti. Anya Vilasitam Sunyam. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:111, this is mentioned by Rupa Goswami. Unalloyed devotional service, which is transcendental to the activities of the body, the mind, unlike such as jnana, mental speculation, or karma, fruitive activities. So unalloyed devotee is fully engaged in transcendental activities of the Lord. He has no time for mental speculation or performing fruitive activities. Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material condition. Even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned, one should therefore not see a pure devotee from a materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. Of course, in English there is saying, it takes one to know one. So if you are a pure devotee at heart, then very easily you can recognize another one as a pure devotee. And if your heart is contaminated and impure, then all you will see is impurity and contamination in other person. Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee. He is simply concerned with worshipping the deity in the temple. Madhyama Adhikari, however, can distinguish between the devotee and non-devotee, as well as between the devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee, and the non-devotee in different ways. No one should criticize the bodily defects of a pure devotee. If there are such defects, they should be overlooked. What should be taken into account is the spiritual master's main business, which is devotional service, pure service to the Supreme Lord. So again, we should understand that we should not look at the external condition of the spiritual master, but see his internal heart, which is main business is to perform devotional service and serve the Supreme Lord in purity. So when we are ignorant of this, then there is every chance we will commit Vaishnava aparadh. When one criticizes a pure devotee, he commits an offense that is very obstructive and dangerous for those who desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. So there are 7 kinds of offenses one can commit towards a pure devotee. We'll list them now one by one. Number 1 is criticism of the bodily defects. So as mentioned previously, that we should not look at the spiritual master on an external platform, but we should look at from an internal platform that his heart is pure and he has only desire to speak about Krishna and serve Krishna. If we consider the bodily defects of a Vaishnava, we should understand that we are committing an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is very serious. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described this offense as Hatimata, the mad elephant offense. So this slide is depicting the great saint which we discussed previously in the 12 Mahajans, Janaka Maharaj. He is taking shelter of a great saintly person called Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra was a very self-realized personality, but unfortunately his body was defective in 8 places. He was bent in a very awkward way, his bones, legs, everywhere. So his name is Ashtavakra, bent in 8 places. But nonetheless, Janaka Maharaj did not look at his external appearance, but what he had to give him as transcendental realization of the Krishna conscious knowledge. Number 2 is by birth. So sometimes we think that the birth is very important. The spiritual master has to be of a certain birth, otherwise he is not a spiritual master. So here is saying criticism of someone not born in a Brahmana or a Goswami family. Members of the Goswami families from Nityananda Prabhu to Advaita Acharya protest against Goswami title being given to American Vaishnavas. So of course this was criticism by many of the Goswamis who are not really Goswamis, as we discussed in previous verses. A Goswami is one who can control his senses. But here they have just inherited the title Goswami and they think that it is their birthright. So we have to be very careful that we do not fall into the same trap, but we see a person genuinely interested in Krishna consciousness should be accepted as a great saintly person. Who is a Goswami? One who can control his senses, is not based on material consideration, birth or hereditary. And Goswami basically is the monopoly of pure devotees. Examples, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. Those who think that Krishna consciousness is limited to a certain section of people, a certain section of devotees, or a certain tract of land are generally prone to see the external features of the devotee. Such neophytes, unable to appreciate the exalted service of the advanced devotee, try to bring the Mahabhagavad to their platform. So then, here a very important point Prabhupada is making, that if you try to discriminate these different things based on one's caste, one's background, or born in a certain tract of land, then we will be considered very much at the lowest level of our devotional life. At the same time, we will try to drag the Mahabhagavats to our platform thinking they are same as us. But of course, there is a vast difference between a Mahabhagavat and a neophyte or a Kanishta Adhikari. So in this slide is this depiction of a person born as a Brahmana. Now, I don't know if you can notice this, that the little boy, he is wearing the Brahman thread the wrong way around. So it is very much showing that these so-called caste Brahmanas, they don't even know the basic principles of Brahmana. And then on the right-hand side is a picture of the Braj Mandala, Braj Bhumi. And there are people who consider that only people born in Braj can become spiritual masters. And therefore, they criticize those who are leading the spiritual parampara with pure heart. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antalila, chapter 7, text 11, Kali Kale Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very clearly saying here that in the Kali Yuga, the age, present age, the system of religion is chanting of the holy names. Now, unless until you are empowered by Krishna, you cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement, let alone to others, even to yourself. So therefore, it is very important we understand the principle on which we can become empowered is that by sincerely serving the devotee of Krishna, and through his blessings, we make advancement. And then, of course, we seek the attention of Krishna, and therefore we become blessed and empowered by Krishna himself. An empowered person who is actually engaged in the confidential service of the Lord should not be treated as an ordinary human being. For it is stated that unless one is empowered by Krishna, one cannot spread Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. When one thus criticizes a pure devotee commits an offense, Vaishnava aparad, that is very obstructive and dangerous for those who desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. So again, in this section of this verse, very much importance is given that we are very, very mindful of committing offense against a devotee, and therefore creating many problems for our spiritual advancement. The advanced Vaishnava is always situated in this as the spiritual master. And the neophyte is always considered his disciple. The spiritual master must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple, nor should the spiritual master be obliged to take instructions from those who are not his disciples. This is also a very important aspect, that sometimes we think that we can advise the spiritual master in certain matters because we may be materially very advanced in knowledge, and therefore we can advise the spiritual master that he can take some advice from us to propagate the holy name of the Lord from a materialistic point of view. This is advised not to do that because that is considered very much an offensive mindset. And also the spiritual master is not obliged to take instructions from anyone, especially those who are not his followers. Number 4 is jealousy. Of course, we should be very, very be mindful that we are not jealous of someone's advancement. On the contrary, if someone is making advancement, we should become very eager to serve them rather than pointing fingers at them and showing our true colors that we are jealous of their advancement and therefore try to drag them down to our level. Number 5, to consider the empowered Vaishnava an object of disciplinary action. So again, when an empowered Vaishnava is preaching the transcendental subject matter of Krishna consciousness all over the world, he should not be an object of disciplinary action. Sometimes we see that things he may do may not be conforming to your social morals, but he has a higher understanding, and therefore when he executes this, it is considered with a better spiritual objective rather than looking at it in a negative objective or considering some kind of imperfection in that person. In regards to this, one story comes to me that Nityananda Prabhu, when he was going preaching in Navadip, he would sometimes enter the building where alcohol is consumed and brothels are there, prostitutes are there. And one would look from external point of view that why is Nityananda Prabhu a great devotee? And of course, now in hindsight, we know that he's not different from Lord Balaram himself. Why would he go into this kind of abominable places? So from external point of view, we may think, oh, he's also going in there to enjoy some alcohol and enjoy the prostitutes. But really, his business was to free them from this kind of contamination. So we should be very, very careful we don't see this and try to become an object of disciplinary action for a Vaishnava. Number 6 is to advise him, and number 7 to correct him. So again, it's very similar to the previous 4 and 5, that we are very much critical of everything and anything we see, because generally it is said that when you see something imperfect in others, that is a reflection of your own imperfection which you see in the others. So you should be very, very grateful that when you begin to see some kind of imperfection in others, you should be considering that, yes, Krishna is so kind. He's letting me see the mirror of the reflection of myself in the mirror, the other person. And therefore, I must try to avoid this and correct myself. So spiritual master and disciple dynamics. Spiritual master must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple, nor is the spiritual master obliged to take instructions from those who are not his disciples. So this is a very important aspect. We should be mindful and follow this so that we do not fall into this trap and become critical. On that base, we will end here. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. The whole presentation was absolutely wonderful. And the definition of Diksha, the way it was explained, I think that was really something, I would say, out of the box to have that, abbreviated form. Maharaj, we have Anupama Radharani Mataji. Her hand is up for a question. So I will first invite her to ask the question. Then I have one to ask myself. And then we have Rajamani Prabhu also. Anupama Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare
Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. A wonderful class, wonderful presentation. Maharaj, I had a question. Prabhupada, at the time of initiation of his early disciples, he brought down the minimum number of rounds to 16. And otherwise, Bhakti Vinod Thakur's, or I don't remember, it was either Bhakti Vinod Thakur or Bhakti Siddhartha Maharaj had said that if one cannot even chant 64 rounds, he's not even a human being, not even a civilized human being. So my question here is that, what if one, just does the bare minimum 16 rounds, an initiated devotee, and is not very inclined to do more rounds, but is attracted to other kinds of devotional services? So are the other kinds of devotional practices equally potent as chanting Hare Krishna? And does it mean that this devotee is not making progress because he's not inclined to chant more? Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Yes, it's a very, very interesting point you have raised. Of course, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada, when he initiated his disciples, his standard was minimum 64 rounds, which is like 100,000 names of Krishna. And then later on, when Prabhupada was following the same principle, and the early disciples who came, of course, they were not coming from a very Vedic discipline. And they were very much, as we know, from the Western background, Western culture, and so forth. So Prabhupada was saying that these devotees would be having a lot of difficulties to chant 64 rounds. Now, basically, you see, we take at least minimum 2 hours to chant 16 rounds. Now, if you have to chant 64 rounds, it's 4 times as much. So it will be 8 hours in a day. To sit down and chant for 8 hours is really impossible in this day and age because of the vibration of Kali Yuga's potency is so strong. So therefore, Prabhupada, he said that I will reduce this chanting from 64 to 16. And he said that not that I will reduce to just 16, but he's saying minimum 16. But if you can chant more, then more the merrier. Now, you chant 16 rounds minimum, and then the rest of the day, you engage in transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, which Prabhupada introduced as deity worship, going out on Harinam, going out on Sankirtan, distributing books, and many other aspects of preaching. So you are fully engaged. And of course, there is few statements made that after your prescribed rounds have chanted, the rest of the time when you offer some devotional service, that is also as good as chanting because it is serving the Supreme Lord. Because Prabhupada said, when we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we are going Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then we're saying, dear Lord, please kindly engage me in your service. Dear Lord, please kindly engage me in your service. So you're asking the Lord to engage you in his service. And therefore, when we engage in his service, that is also considered very much a transcendental activity. So it is not that someone would say, okay, I will just engage from morning, when I wake up till night, I go to sleep only in the service of the Lord. I'll go preaching, I'll do book distribution, I'll go on Harinam, I'll do this, but I will not chant Japamala. No. Japamala is the fundamental principle or foundation which you chant your minimum 16 rounds and then rest you engage. And Prabhupada said, you chant 16 rounds daily minimum, and if you can chant more, okay, and the rest of the balance, I will chant on your behalf. So Prabhupada is a pure devotee, can chant on your behalf, but that doesn't mean that we take it this very cheaply, that, oh, I only have to chant 16 rounds and that's it, my duty done. No, you have to sincerely and show your dedication that you're going to engage yourself, physically in serving the Lord in many different aspects of transcendental devotional service. And therefore, your mind will be fixed in Krishna, either through hearing or remembering him or serving him. And that way, perfection will definitely come. And this is, of course, Prabhupada himself as a great acharya, a pure devotee empowered by the Supreme Lord, had made this adjustment according to time, place, and circumstances. So within his domain, he could do that. But Prabhupada did say that, you do minimum this much requirement of 16 rounds and serving the Lord all day till you go to sleep at night, then Krishna will take you back to Godhead. That is my guarantee. So Prabhupada has given his kind of word of guarantee on behalf of Krishna, that if you sincerely do this, then definitely you'll make advancement. No doubt, 64 rounds is minimum requirement in terms of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada. But as we can see that in our modern lives, even those who are living in an ashram cannot chant more than 16 rounds sometimes. Of course, Ekadashi, they try to chant 21 and so forth. But those who are householders, they have household commitments, it's very difficult. So if you ask someone who is going to be required to chant 64 rounds, that person will never become to the level of taking initiation, because one of the first condition is chant 64 rounds, which you cannot. So therefore you will be, disqualified candidate for initiation. So Prabhupada is showing mercy, as we went through the presentation, saying an Uttamadikari is very merciful to the fallen condition and to the ignorant. Therefore, he will make provisions for that individual to make advancement. And of course, as we make more and more advancement, that hankering for chanting and increasing chanting will come naturally. So like say from your young age, you're getting older, you're reaching about 55, 60. At that point, your basic material duties, social duties are finished. You are in what I call is vanaprastha or semi-retirement. and you start saying, okay, I don't need to go to work anymore. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. So I'll sit down and absorb in chanting, because by that time, you will develop the nectarian taste of the holy name. And you want to chant more and more and more and more until the last breath, you go Hare Krishna, and then leave this world with chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Rajamani Prabhu, would you like to switch on your video and ask your question?
Thank you, but you can ask the question because you have one question, I heard.
Oh, okay. So
I will ask you afterwards.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful explanation. I have got two questions, Maharaj, but if I got the time limited. The first one is, we have been chanting many years, but still we are not serious on this. And also the level, actually, we are still on Nama Aparad stage. And what is the situation of us?
Well, this we'll discuss in the next section of our presentation. It's coming there, but it is mentioned. But nonetheless, since the question has come up, you see, we have to become very sincere in our chanting. And as today's presentation was very clearly saying, that we have to become mindful of offenses, aparads. So there are 10 offenses against the holy name. We should be very conscious of those. And then Vaishnava aparad and so forth. And if we are mindful of all these things, then Krishna and in his name form, Nam Prabhu, will be merciful to you to allow you to taste the nectarian holy name and make advancement in Krishna consciousness. And as you say, then more and more you are chanting with sincerity and avoiding all these offenses and pitfalls, then you will be polished away from all the anarthas. As we are saying, that right now in the beginning section of Nectar Instruction is anartha nivriti, of freeing ourselves of all the anarthas by the execution of devotional service and chanting the holy name. So when we are engaged in this service of chanting and serving properly, with proper mindset, then naturally it will take effect that your heart will become purified and free from all contamination, and therefore your chanting will rise from Kanishta level to the Madhyamadic level, where you will start committing less offenses and becoming more serious. And as you advance, then you will come to Uttama, where you will completely perform offenseless chanting. It's a gradual thing, but it doesn't mean for many years that you'll make progress. It's not. You can. Prabhupada said, one person asked Prabhupada, how long does it take to become a pure devotee? And Prabhupada said, 1 minute. So Prabhupada said, you can become a pure devotee in 1 minute. Depends on your chanting. So we have to pray every day when we are chanting. We should chant in such a helplessness way that, dear Lord, please help me chant these names properly. Let me create a proper mindset in my mind, my heart. Let me chant offenselessly. And when you're praying like that, then of course, Nam Prabhu will definitely impact your heart, and you'll begin to chant offenselessly. And then you will experience that ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, and happiness will naturally be oozing from the heart.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Prabhuji, can I ask another question?
Please go ahead, Rajamani Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Maharaj, your presentation, you told me about the envious, avoid envious, and how the devotees also, if they are envious, of course, we should avoid them.
Yeah, you see, it is stated like last presentation I made, like the snake, and then feeding him milk, bananas becomes more and more powerful and poisonous, and therefore snake is considered a very envious animal. And more than the snake, a human being who is envious is more dangerous than the snake. See, so we should be very mindful that we avoid those who are envious people, and at the same time, we do not become envious of anybody. Why is the envy there? If I have envy towards someone, that means that I want something he has. That is, I am envious of him. Whether his material wealth, his position, his purity. That is why I'm envious of that person. And therefore we have to say, better I try to improve myself, to raise myself to his standard, than try to be envious and say, oh, I don't like that person because he's chanting better than me, he's doing better service than me. and you become envious of that nature, that is again offensive mindset. So therefore, we have to be very careful that we avoid envious people, and we ourselves do not become envy of anybody, except we see good in everyone. And if someone has got something more than I have, then say, well, Krishna is so kind. Maybe one day, like your blessings, I will also get something like that. So we become in a humble position.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank
you,
very
Prabhu.
much, Prabhu. Thank you, Maharaj. So we'll keep the time today. It's 32 minutes past 8 in Oman. So let's have our post-session meet and greet with Maharaj. So kindly switch on your videos and we will quickly have a meet and greet. So I'm going to, just one sec. Yeah. Let's have the gallery. So Anupama Mataji is there. You have to unmute yourself, Anupam. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Devendra Kumar Prabhu.
Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Devendra Kumar Prabhu Maharaj joins us from Muscat. He works with our Brajnath Gopal Prabhu. They're colleagues, and he's a regular attendee of our daily Bhagavatam as well as Bhagavad Gita sessions, Maharaj. And we have Sarvagya Mohan Prabhu, a disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Sarvagya Mohan Prabhu, you're muted. Maharaj, if you remember, you have visited his home. Sarvagya Mohan Prabhu, Maharaj visited your home also,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
once. Yeah.
Yes. So
Thank you.
his family is back in Kerala, Maharaj, but he runs a business in Muscat. So he continues his stay here. Ashok Prabhu. Ashok Prabhu is joining us from the UK.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Good to see you, Ashok Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Murlidhar Prabhu and Anasuya Mataji from Kuwait.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, our humble obeisance, Maharaj.
Wonderful session, Guru.
Hare Krishna.
Shiva
I hope the
Yogan
sister is
Prabhu.
recovering nicely.
Sorry.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yes, Guru Maharaj. By the mercy of Krishna and you, they came out from ICU, Maharaj. I just wanted to keep a personal message to you after the session. So
No problem. Hare Krishna.
they are out of the ICU, Maharaj.
If many Vaishnavas know about it, then they will also shower their blessings.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Better for everyone. Hare Krishna.
Today, doctor told that they can be discharged after 2 days, Guru Maharaj. Suddenly, all the parameters came normal. After the prayers and chanting was continuously going in the home, everything was fine. Suddenly, all the parameters came normal and they are going to be discharged. My brother will be discharged on Wednesday. My sister will be going to discharge after 2 days, Guru Maharaj.
Very nice. Good news. I think Krishna is working miraculously here. Hare.
Yes, Guru, by the mercy of
With your blessings
Jai
and our
Guru.
Rashtriya Prabhuji also, that day we made the prayer.
all the elevated Vaishnavas here in the Satsanga and my Guru Maharaj blessings and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai
Hare.
Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. That's a wonderful news indeed. Shiva Yogan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. This is Sri Chaitanya Devdas and Rasa Vilasini from Switzerland. Hare Krishna, very nice explaining and very nice lecture. Thank you very much, Gurudev, and thank you very much, Rasa Prida Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yogeshwar Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Gurudev, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sunita Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Sunita Mataji, you're joining us from where?
From Gurgaon, India.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Swayam Siddha Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj Ji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for the
Hare Krishna.
wonderful class. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rasguru Prabhuji.
Jai. Good to see you, Swayam Siddha Prabhu.
Thank you.
Tirthraj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol,
Hare
Hare
Bol.
Krishna. Very nice class. We are Sri Adhikari. So.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
I love your speech, Mataji. Very loving.
I don't know. We are in the first stage or second stage. Try to become the first stage.
Jai Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, our Guru Maharaj is so love, so kind. We are advancing little by little. Krishna consciousness. Hari Bol, thank you. It's a lovely moment, these classes for us.
Prabhanjan Prabhu. You have to unmute yourself, Prabhanjan Prabhu. Prabhu, you have to unmute yourself if you're speaking. You're muted.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my humble obeisance. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, all Vaishnavas. Dandavat
Raj
Pranam to all.
Prabhanjan Prabhu is joining us from Muscat. He's associating with Swamsiddha Prabhu, with the regular classes are going on. So then we have Rameshwar Kanai Prabhu joining us from Srivasangan. Maharaj, he is overseeing the Srivasangan Yatra in the UAE, in Ajman. Rameshwar Kanai Prabhu, and they have very recently opened the ISKCON Konjikode in Kerala, along with one of my godbrothers, His Grace Murari Gauranga Prabhu, a very beautiful community with a community temple and a center there, ISKCON Center. So Maharaj, that will be one of your port of call, as and when the travels begin post, some COVID relaxations. So I'm taking the liberty, Rameshwar Kanai Prabhu, to invite Maharaj to Konjikode.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. This Kanjikode is hardly 7-8 kilometers from Malambra. So
Maharaj, Maharaj, I can tell you one thing. I was talking to Rameshwar Kanai Prabhu this afternoon. So we've got really some wonderful centers that have come up in Kerala. And he was saying that, you make a plan and I will take days off and we will travel to all. And many of the devotees there are known to us, very close friends. They were part of our yatras back in the 90s. So they've all gone and taken a lot of wonderful initiatives of having built some very nice centers. Our His Grace Swamsiddha Prabhu also has set up a center, and we have many more. So you are absolutely and cordially invited, and I'm taking liberties on behalf of everyone to invite you to each one of these centers.
Well, we'll do a whole yatra, visit everything.
We will certainly. And Swamsiddha Prabhu organizes a Rath Yatra every year. So does ISKCON Kannur, which is also devotees from the Middle East have gone and set up. And I'm sure Rameshwar Kanai Prabhu and Murari Gauranga Prabhu would also be planning many, many initiatives of expanding the preaching there. So your visit will indeed also go a long way in their expansion plans, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna,
Very
Maharaj.
nice, very nice.
Please accept my blessing.
Sorry, you want to speak?
This March 4th, Maharaj, we opened a preaching hall that was even in the COVID, about 400 devotees attended. It was it's a big preaching hall with the Prabhupada's lifestyle deities, and it's a real like a big center. And there are big in Kanjikode, which is as Swamsiddha Prabhu said, is very close to the city. And I don't know, in Palakkad, we have many centers, Prabhuji, like Malambada Prabhuji is having, and Kanjikode, Murari Prabhu is bringing. And the city, there is one, Murali Govind Prabhu is having. And if you go any small towns, we have one. And in particularly in the Kanjikode, it's an industrial area where huge industries are there, including IIT is there. So we have a lot of scope. So Prabhuji, you did an amazing thing that you invited Maharaj on behalf, and we are very eagerly waiting for that day to happen. I definitely, wherever I will be there with you, Prabhuji and Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramesh Shokanai Prabhu, and thank you, Sam Siddha Prabhu. Lavkesh Grover Prabhu, who joins us from Dubai. He's a
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
He's a good friend, Maharaj, who is very regular in his program attendance, mornings and
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare.
Well, thank you very much for this wonderful session. I always look forward to attending these.
Thank you very much.
With all your blessings.
Then we have Maharaj Hari Bhaskar Prabhu, the quiet man in Muscat.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Few more months in Muscat.
Sorry?
Few more months in Muscat.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Maharaj Hari Bhaskar Prabhu has got his citizenship in Australia, and he works for the PDO, Petroleum Development of Oman. You've been to his house, and this is the news. So anyway, you've got someone to visit in Australia too, and I take that liberty of
Yes.
having you go across to the other part of the world, the down under world.
When I spoke to Maharaj last time, he said he never visited Australia. So I think this is an opportunity.
So there you go. And I think you're in Perth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, Prabhu.
there's a wonderful community out there. So yeah. Hari Bhaskar Prabhu will talk for sure now that you're saying just few more months. So we'll indeed connect. We've got Achara Mataji and Vijay Prabhu Maharaj, and you've met them upon your last visit. They are, both of them are, progressing very well in their Krishna consciousness, attending regular programs, morning and evening. I have to say, Achara Mataji is absolutely, her attendance is 100%. Vijay Prabhu needs to improve. Hare Krishna. I have to say that to you, Maharaj, so that you can tell him.
Yes, please. Yes, Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, and Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji, aapko bhi. Maharaj, I just want to share one thing. Prabhuji knows very well. We have been going through very rough weather during last 1 year, and with the blessings of Krishna and mercy of God, yourself, Prabhuji, I have come out of that trouble almost. And I'm thankful to you for your wonderful classes. We have been consistently attending your classes, and blessed to have all of you with us. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, in short,
you make your journey upward, be going up and up and up.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. So nice.
Wonderful,
of you.
Maharaj.
So nice of you. Thank you.
Our faith is increasing. Yeah, day by day, our faith is increasing.
Very good sign.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Vrindavan Sham Prabhu, he joins us from Sur Maharaj. It's a city outside of Muscat. Vrindavan Sham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my respectful obeisances. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And we have Nitya Narasimha Prabhu, a dear friend of mine.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Prabhuji, and my respectful obeisances to you, Maharaj, and Nectarian class Maharaj. Thank you, and kindly shower the mercy, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
A very sincere devotee family, Maharaj. They are wonderful deities of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadramai, and he's been regularly attending right from the COVID times. So thank you, Nitya Narasimha Prabhu. Hari Prasad Prabhu. Hari Prasad Prabhu is also associated with our Brajnath Gopal Prabhu, and he is also a very regular attendee of our programs, Maharaj. And he, and he's also associating with Brajnath Prabhu. Brajnath Prabhu, your video is not on. Hari Prasad Prabhu, so you want to say something, please, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class and a wonderful presentation, Maharaj. I am amazed. It really took a lot of time to prepare. It is amazing. Lovely class.
Thank you very much.
And Maharaj, I will have one session organized between Brajnath Prabhu and yourself. We'll have a one-to-one hopefully in the next week we'll organize depending upon your convenience of your time.
Yeah, no problem.
And Hari Prasad Prabhu, you wanted to say something? I'm sorry. We can't hear you, Prabhu, though you're unmuted. I don't know why. No.
Sir?
Yeah, now we can hear you. No, there's something wrong. Something is wrong, Prabhu. The mic is, though you. Okay, so. Okay, Hari Prasad Prabhu, something is wrong at your end. You're showing unmuted, but it's not. So no problems, Prabhu. We will meet again. So Maharaj, thank you very much again for yet another wonderful session on the Nectar of Instructions. And thank you all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. We are indeed inspired by your very enthusiastic participation, and your presence is indeed a blessing. So thank you. It encourages us to serve all of you more and more. And again, with a grateful heart, we are very thankful to Maharaj to take his time and be with us, give us his association, and give us the pearls of wisdom from the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. His Holiness Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj ki jai. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samved Bhaktavind ki jai. Kalpataru bhyascha
Jai
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.